let's talk about paranormal romances. It's time for episode 3 in 50 Shades of Smut, where I deep dive into some sort of smutty subgenre and see what I think of it. I have actually read very few paranormal romances here on my channel. I'm not a huge paranormal person. I never read Twilight. I never had a thing for vampires or werewolves or anything like that. So this is really gonna be new for me. There is a giant ass storm outside, so I am sorry if you hear the rain or the thunder. Also, there is a chance I may lose power. I hated that. I don't like this. I've decided to dip my toe into some subgenres within the subgenre. Since I don't really know what I like here, we're gonna try a little bit of everything. I've picked out 5 books and we'll see what I think of them over the coming weeks. The first book on my list is Better Off Read by Rebekah Weatherspoon. Ah! God damn it.
Here you go.
I look like a demon.
Yeah.
Alright, look, so I'm dressed and have makeup on. And this runs on battery, so I'm gonna finish this intro regardless of the fact that I don't have power and light right now. And we're just gonna pretend that it's atmosphere. Actually, I can't look up synopsises while I do this. Fuck! I can't look up synopsises because I'm too cheap to afford data. So I'm just gonna vaguely tell you what paranormal subgenres these fit into, and then as I read them, I will give you the actual synopsises. Sound good? I think it sounds great. The first one is Better Off Read by Rebekah Weatherspoon. This one involves vampires and a sorority. I believe it is a female-female relationship. The next one is Claimed by Kele and Laurann Dohner. I know that this has something to do with werewolves. Then there's an Illicit Seduction by Chencia Higgins. This involves witches, I think. Then there's Fire in His Blood by Dixon. Dixon is obviously super well known for her Ice Planet Barbarian series. I have never read that, but I wasn't sure if aliens fit in with paranormal, so I decided to start with Fire in His Blood, which has to do with dragons. And then there's A Lady of Rooksgrave by Kathryn, which I believe has a bunch of different paranormal things within it. There's different monsters, different paranormal species, and it is a reverse harem, which just sounds super fucking fun. This is the one I have the most hope for because it just sounds like such a good time. So let's move on to the vlog portion and see what I think. So I started reading Better Off Read by Rebekah Weatherspoon. This book is about our main character who really doesn't want to join a sorority. She's in college, she's just trying to get her degree, but her roommate really wants to join the sorority, and she wants to keep her roommate safe, so she goes with her. They rush a bunch of sororities, but the main character just thinks it's all stupid. She just thinks they're all bimbos and whatever. She judges them a lot. But then she runs into the last sorority, and she finds them all pretty interesting and diverse, but she's still not planning on joining until she sees this one girl who's just like super hot and sexy, and that really makes her start to question her sexuality. This all happens within like the first 10% of the book. I'm now at the 20% mark where she's just kind of getting initiated into the sorority where all the girls, I guess, are getting initiated. And she starts to realize that like something dark is going on because, of course, as we know, these girls are vampires. And the main character, I will say to her credit, figures it out pretty quickly. And that was kind of refreshing because I didn't really want to spend a ton of time on like the mystery of it. No sex scenes yet, but we're definitely just about to get one. I think I realized that, like the main character, I just really don't like sororities. I just find the whole thing kind of annoying and stupid. Just because I don't like it right now doesn't mean I'm not going to like it, you know? So I need to give it more of a chance. So I just got to the 50% mark in Better Off Read. I'm definitely still on the I don't like paranormal train because this is not working for me, and I think the thing is that so far I don't like about paranormal is that anything I've ever consumed, read, watched, whatever, that includes paranormal aspects always follows 2 different storylines. It either always has to do with the main character's lineage or it has to do with some sort of paranormal politics. And both of those storylines just don't interest me whatsoever. This book specifically has to do with the main character's lineage. She is currently not a vampire, but she has some vampire blood in her. And you find that out pretty early on in the book. and I'm guessing that's going to take up a large chunk of the storyline outside of the romance. So far, honestly, at 50%, not a lot has happened except for insta-love. She slept with the head bitch in charge, Camilla, and like instantly fell in love with her. That's just not something I love. You guys barely know each other. This is not something I enjoy in any romance book. Normally I would just like DNF this book, but I have it on audiobook. I just got it from Audible, so I'm gonna try and just like push through the rest of it. It's not that long, so I think I can do it. And then we'll move on to a different paranormal type, and hopefully that'll work better for me. So I finished Better Off Red by Rebekah Weatherspoon, and I hated it. There was not a single thing in this book that I liked. The main characters were so thin. The sex scenes weren't my favorite. I like my sex scenes to be a little more detailed. I like to know why the character is so turned on. The insta-love was so heavy in this book. I mean, this main character was ready to just change her entire life trajectory around the love interest, seemingly out of nowhere. You really never saw them interact other than them having sex, which, once again, I'm normally fine with if I love the sex scenes and if I'm not trying to be convinced that they're in love. The vampire shtick went nowhere for me. I truly could not give less of a crap about it. And the ending was ridiculous. Somehow, our main character gets promoted to like some important role in this organization. There's no reason for any of these people to trust her or to want her in a position of power. She has done nothing in this book, especially nothing in this vampire organization. She's just there, and yet they're like, you know what? You should be in charge. You're killing it, girl. It was bad. I hated every second of it. I gave it 1.5 stars. I don't know where the half star came from. I just don't like giving things 1 star. This was a bad way to start a vlog, let me just say. I was like, this might be just a vlog full of me bitching, which, let's face it, that's most of these vlogs because I am picky as fuck. But still, I mean, it could not have started off worse. I truly thought maybe I'm screwed and I'm just not gonna like a paranormal. But then I picked up the second book. So I picked up A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Kathryn Moon, and this is so fucking hot. Like, I'm only 17% in. I've already had like 3 sex scenes and they are lovely. Like, just, I have no words for how great this book is so far. So this is about our main character who just wants to get laid, and like her libido is through the roof. She wants to fuck everyone. She works as a maid for this one family and she's not good at it. She's just not good at her job. She gets distracted by all the pretty boys who walk by. I mean, even in like the first chapter, she just like gets turned on and runs out to the barn and just like flips up her skirt and she's like, come on, stable boy. The doctor that she works near, he sees her, he understands her, he's got her number, and so he tells her that there's a manor nearby where she can do this for a living, where she can get paid to service pretty boys. So first they have sex because, like, of course, and that sex scene was so great. He's got this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going on, and it is so hot. So she immediately gets hired at this manor and she's told that everyone there is just a bit different. They're all monsters or vampires or any other sort of paranormal creature. And she gets to have sex with a whole lot of them. So far, that's the story. I'm sure some other storyline will present itself, but like, even if it doesn't, even if this is the story, if it's just her having sex with many different monsters, like, I'm here for this. This woman writes sex scenes perfectly, and so I will just read all the pages of this. Please and thank you. Quick update for Rooksgrave Manor. I'm absolutely loving it. Also, if you like plot, this book is not for you because there is not a lot of it. But if you like hot, steamy sex scenes with some weirdly hot dudes, this is a good one. This book is truly just going from like one sex scene to the next. Every chapter or so it switches guys and switches the type of sex that they're enjoying, and I like that a lot. My favorite is Booker, who is the marble stone butler. He doesn't communicate a lot, but like he has a sensitive soul possibly, or he just wants to finger fuck her. I don't know, but I love him. There's one guy who so far is the jealous type and is trying to control her a little bit too much, and I'm wondering where that storyline will go. If she just ends up like taming him with her magic vagina, then like I'm not that into it, but if it goes in like a darker direction, or if she shuts him up and says like, fuck you, I'm over this, like get out, then I'm all for it. He's a Sphinx character, by the way, which doesn't really do it for me, but it's fine. There's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of character who kind of like hulks out. Also into him. There's like a Mr. Invisible type of character. I think he's Scottish, which I do like. It seems like there might be some voyeurism or group sex with that character, which we'd love to see it. There's the vampire character who likes to cook for her. He's more of like the romantic one, which I could take or leave, but he's okay. But my two favorites are definitely the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and the butler. There was a storyline where she was put in danger and almost drowned. Don't know where that's going. So far this book is giving me everything I want and more. And you know, it's giving me things I never even thought to ask for. I'm glad that I picked this book up next because it gives me more hope for this paranormal adventure. I think I'm about 70% through Rooksgrave Manor. I love almost all the characters other than the Catman. He's just not my thing. Regardless, I can't wait to read more of this series. What I will say is there's like zero plot. The very, very thin plot that is there, I don't give a crap about. There's some evildoer who's trying to steal girls from this brothel or whatever, and yeah, I don't care. Not enough has been done in the plot to make me care, and I just kind of wish it wasn't there entirely. But I get that this can't be just sex scene after sex scene. I mean, it's pretty close, but you know, I get it. I think the author does a decent job at least somewhat distinguishing who these monsters are. It's definitely not the most well fleshed out characters you've ever seen, but I'm very much into it. I'm gonna be so sad when this book is over. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. Alright, so I finished Rooksgrave Manor, and I'm giving it 5 stars. I mean, can I give a book more than 5 stars? This is the best smut I've read in so goddamn long. It is so fucking fun. Can't get over how much I love this. I'm gonna read everything this woman puts out. I never realized I could want monster dick this much, but like here we are. It is a new year. It is a new Amy, apparently. I hate paranormal shit, and yet this gave me everything I wanted. And I think one of the biggest things is that it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I extremely appreciate. Yes, there is a plot, and that comes in mostly at the end. I will say, like, if I wanted to be nitpicky, I could say that maybe they should have spent a little more time on the actual plot if they wanted me to care about it, but like, let's face it, I don't actually want that. I love all the fucking sex scenes I got in this. I love that every chapter was basically a new, interesting sex scene. That's all I want in a book. This book was focused a lot on the main character and who she was and how she's this wanton woman and how she always felt like an outsider, like people were always looking down on her for her sexual appetites, especially because this does take place in like a Victorian era. But let's face it, that's still kind of looked down upon now. You're gonna get some flack and some judgment when you are an openly sexual woman. And this just speaks to the slutty girl in my soul. I just love this. The next book I'm going to tackle is an Illicit Seduction. This is by Chencia Higgins. I don't totally know what this is about. I know that it's very short and I have the audio of it on Scribd, so I'm probably just going to fly through this in one sitting. I did start it a little bit already, but I'm only like 10% into it. I know that it is about this main character who has this guy who recently moved back into town, but she knew him when they were very, very young. There's an age gap there. She's 10 years older than him. The last time she saw him before this was when he was like 9 years old, and so she still has a hard time seeing him as the adult he is. But everybody absolutely adores him, says he's like this massive stud, and she just has never seen him that way, but he clearly sees her that way. So I'm interested to see where this goes. I don't really know what the paranormal aspect of this is going to be. I know that where I left off, she just got to this like adult slumber party, which love the sounds of that. Why don't I have friends like this? And so we'll see where this goes next. So So I finished an Illicit Seduction of Chencia Higgins, and I gotta say, I did not know what I was in for. I thought that this was about witches, first of all. I didn't do a ton of reading when I picked my books because I don't want to find out spoilers. So I actually didn't realize that this is about an incubus, and it was a lot more non-consensual than I was expecting it to be. And here's the thing, you know, I'm pretty much down for anything. Non-consensual shit in my erotica doesn't bother me as long as it's done the right way. And this wasn't necessarily done bad or the wrong way, it's just, it was an interesting mix of tone. I'm used to seeing non-consensual erotica in books that are either bully romances where it's very obvious that the guy is bad, that he is the villain while also still being the love interest. Or I see it taken on in a more serious tone in books that are actually about sexual assault. Whereas this was a very happy, easygoing book, and yet there were these scenes that were done against her will. Damon, like him, as a person is not the bad guy. It's this sex demon that's inside him. Which, I gotta say, love the moment when she's with her best friend and she's explaining what's been happening, and her best friend immediately is just like, oh, he's a sex demon. Like, no other conversation, just immediately jumps to sex demon, and I was like, once again, I need friends like these. And then the ending came, and it turns out she had actually missed him in his more aggressive nature. So by the end of it, you do feel like this is what she wanted. It was weird. I gave it 4 stars because I did like the story overall, and like I said, like, I'm into these scenes. I think that the way this author writes her sex scenes I really enjoy. This was really short, like I said, it's like just over 100 pages. So for a novella, I thought this was good. So I've started Fire in His Blood by Ruby Dixon, and I'm already really enjoying it. This is not at all what I was expecting, but in a good way. When I heard that this was a shapeshifter romance, I was really picturing medieval times stuff, and I don't like period pieces. It turns out that there's actually a rift in the sky and a bunch of dragons come out of it, and this is like 7 years later after society has collapsed. Our main character is a scavenger. She just goes around and loots different areas and sells these different technologies and stuff that are from the ancient times to people who want them, and unfortunately this is illegal, and so she has been arrested, and they've decided that they want to put her in this dragon taming program. And she gets tied up on top of a building and basically just left for a dragon. And they tell her, good luck, try and tame him. All of our society depends on you. I really like how this is started out. The dragon comes down and he knows that she's his mate, and he's slowly trying to understand her and get her to understand him because they don't necessarily speak English because they're dragons. It's all very interesting. There have been no sex scenes. I'm about 30% of the way through. I stopped so I could film this, but like, I'm really looking forward to going back to it because I think I could be into this. So far, I enjoyed Ruby Dixon's writing. I felt pretty confident going into this that her writing wouldn't be bad because so many people love her series, and I really enjoy her sense of humor so far. Alright, so I'm now 60% of the way through Fire in His Blood. We finally got to a sex scene. It was fine. It was adequate. I'm hoping there are steamier scenes going forward. I still like the main character, but I will say there is some weird disability representation in this book that I don't feel super comfortable with. The way the main character thinks about her sister, it's just kind of crappy. Her sister is a big motivating factor in her life. It's why she scavenges so much and goes so hard, is because like she's keeping her sister alive. Her sister had some sort of accident, I don't remember the details, but she injured her leg and it is permanently injured, and anytime she brings up her sister, she just like constantly talks about how weak she is and how fragile she is and how she can't do anything for herself. And she does it in a very protective, loving way, but it still feels kind of gross. I know this is a series, and so I'm hoping that maybe somewhere down the line her sister has her own book where she can fight against that stereotype, and I'm hoping that maybe this is just the main character's way of viewing her because she is her protective older sister, because otherwise, ew. Now that the main character and the dragon have had sex, they can now communicate in their minds or something. Honestly, I don't really see the connection there. I don't find him that interesting. And I think that's where this book is falling a little flat for me. They just don't really seem to have that much chemistry together. And I'm not that invested in their relationship. But I'm still enjoying the book overall for what it is. So I finished that kind of a while ago now, probably about a month ago. I can still remember my thoughts on it because it irritated the shit out of me. This book really went downhill for me in the last 40%. It just got so repetitive. I enjoyed the first half of this novel, and I thought that the second half of the novel would include her deepening her connection with our love interest. But that definitely isn't what happened. It was just a lot of her debating whether they could possibly be together because she had to get back to her sister because God forbid her sister lived without her. And then they'd have sex and then she'd be like, you know, that dick is pretty good. Maybe I can stay after all. And then like the whole thing would just start again because if she wasn't getting dick down every 15 minutes, all of a sudden she lost all interest in him. By the end of it, I really wasn't convinced of their relationship together other than just, oh hey, they had good sex. Which I wouldn't be opposed to that if the sex scenes were actually good and interesting, but I don't really think that they were. So in the end, I gave this 2.5 stars. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. Overall, the second half of the book really let me down. The last book I have to read for this vlog is Claimed. I have not started it yet. I'm kind of worried because like werewolves don't interest me whatsoever, but I can get down with like an alpha male sort of thing, so maybe this will work for me. So I'm like 30% into Claimed. I stopped filming for a while because honestly I just don't want to read this book. I'm not hating it, it's not bad by any means, but it is exactly what you expect. It's exactly what I knew I was getting in a werewolf novel. There's 2 rival werewolf gangs. Our main character gets kidnapped by someone in the rival gang, and then her love interest like helps her. He rescues her. And that's basically where I'm at. She finds him hot. That's it. I just don't care. So I think I'm going to get the audiobook and just like binge the rest of it. Maybe listening to the rest of this will change my mind. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of hope. So I finished Claimed and I hated it. I hated it more than I thought I would. I think I've kind of narrowed down the thing I don't like about werewolf romances, and that's like the fact that they're always fated to be together. I don't enjoy that. I think one thing that's clear, if you've watched any of my smut videos, is that I like smut more than I like love. I like sex and lust more than I like romance. And in werewolf romances, it tends to kind of rely on insta-love because they feel like, oh my god, we were always supposed to be together. There was that instant connection when we saw each other. They were saying I love you within 24 hours. There were some like snide little comments here and there that I enjoyed between like the other members of the werewolf pack and her, and the other members of the werewolf pack and him, but it was like just tiny little asides that brought some laughter to the book. The rest of it I hated, especially because we got to the end of the book and he finds out that her life in like the real world, she's really done well for herself. She's provided, she's got money and things and all this, and he's like, he's intimidated by it, and we're supposed to believe that's a good thing, I guess. Like all of a sudden she's like, no, but these are just things, they don't mean anything. I feel so much better about my life with you that I've had for a week than anything else that I've provided for myself. I was like, what a weird fucking life lesson to give at the end of your book. Love is more important than the career you've built. I hated it. I will not read any more of this series, that is for damn sure. No. And like the sex scenes were meh. So I got nothing. The only good thing in this book is that it had like good plus size representation. That's it. 1+, so it gets 2 stars. Everything else. So we come to the end of my paranormal reading journey with like kind of a stinker, but overall I feel pretty good about this just for this book alone. I bought the physical copy because like I want to read this again. I know I'm going to read the rest of Kathryn Moon's books, and like I kind of love the idea of monster dick now, and that was not a thing I ever thought I would like. So that really did open up a whole new world for me in that sense. I still don't think I'm into vampires. I still don't think I'm into werewolves. But I'm definitely more open to this than I was in the past. I can now see the appeal of the genre, especially because you can do some more creative things in it, as I learned with the Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. body parts that defy logic, as well as different skills and stuff that are not of this world, it can definitely open up some interesting possibilities within sex scenes. I think Claimed could be good if maybe you're a beginner in the smut genre and you just want to see if maybe you can get down for some spice in your books. I think this could be an okay one, especially if you already like werewolf stuff. You know, if you were Team Jacob but want some spice, maybe this is for you. Fire in His Blood is a similar situation. I think maybe if you're a beginner, it could be okay, but even then I still think it should be shorter than it is since it repeats itself so much. I mean, A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, we know how I feel about this. You should 100% read it. What are you doing? Shut off this video. Go read it right now. And Illicit Seduction, I would totally recommend if you're just looking for something a little bit different, as long as you keep in mind the fact that it is darker in some parts. Darker than I was expecting, at least. Unfortunately, I can't recommend this vampire book. My brain is gone. I cannot remember the name of this. It was the first one I read, so it is just, yeah. I can't recommend this one. I didn't love it. I wish I could because I want more. I'd like to be able to recommend more lesbian books, but this one, the writing was just not my favorite. It was way too insta-love, and none of the characters' decisions in any sense worked. But I do plan on reading more books by Rebekah Weatherspoon because I've heard great things about the rest of her novels. I believe this is kind of an older one and not one that I hear talked about a lot. So I plan on still reading more from her. I just wouldn't recommend this one. I do have an idea of where episode 4 of this is going to go. Things are gonna get a little bit weird. I hope you like this video and I hope you'll come back in soon. Bye.